What's up, everybody? Randy here with Academia Christi. This is something a little bit different. This is going to be the first episode of the Viri Christi Vodcast, uh, only because it's probably a little more work to do a podcast. I'll probably do a podcast version of this as well, I guess. But yeah, I wanted to add this more generic, I guess, discussion based series to the channel to go along with the garden blog and other Viri Christi things that we'll be doing, offshoots of the Academia Christi, the true channel, which is just a channel within the channel, if you will. Yeah, and I know that most of what I've been doing so far is the Viri Christi stuff, but eventually we'll get into more Academia Christi content. Eventually, we're getting there. Right now, it's a process just trying to get all the gardening done for the season, this first season of gardening. Yeah, so I guess I figured this first episode it'd be good just to kind of get an overview of what Viri Christi is about, what this offshoot of the Academia Christi channel is about, really. So I have like three generic, frequently asked questions, if you will. And we'll start with the first one. We'll go through this pretty quick, maybe make this about a half-hour podcast, no longer than that, at least. So question one is, what is Viri Christi? Pretty simple. Well, meaning men of Christ in Latin. It is really just a project of mine to try to form men and myself along the way to be true men, husbands, heroes of Christ. The other meanings you could say for vir in Latin, the literal meaning being man, but husband and hero being secondary meanings of the word. So trying to wrap all of that together to bring back I think I would call chivalry back to society a little bit, true manhood, which is not obviously not a project of my own that I'm beginning. This is the tradition of the Catholic Church, the true tradition of the Church, and there's many good men, husbands, and heroes out there, fathers right now out there doing the same thing in a much better way. So I would definitely recommend you following them as well. Tim Gordon, Will Noland, guys like that. So that would be the first answer to the first question. What is Viri Christi? It's just me and hopefully more guys along the way trying to form ourselves and each other and other men to be true men, to be true husbands, to be true fathers, to be true Catholics, to just be a real Catholic man, not a Ned Flanders Christian or some kind of soft guy thinking that you have to be effeminate to be a Catholic man, to be a Catholic in general. And Christ was the most manly man there is. So we take him as an example. Obviously, as St. Paul tells us all the time, men, husbands are supposed to be the head of the house. They're supposed to lay down their whole lives for their wife or their family. That's what the head does. That's what Christ the head does for his church, the body. That's what the man, the head, does for his body, the wife, and the family. It's pretty simple. St. Paul talks about it all the time. It's all throughout Scripture. So for us to deny the patriarchy is for us to basically just deny Christ. So we have to be really careful that we don't fall into, and this is going to be a lot of the discussion points are going to be based on this modernist garbage that we've been sold for the past 150 years, and trying to sort through that, trying to figure out what is still good kind of in our culture. There's not a whole lot, but trying to figure out what's still good, and then realizing what's bad and what we need to just throw out, which is most of it. So yeah, it's going to focus on, of course, philosophy behind that, what it takes to be a good man, what it takes to be a good father, what it takes to be a good husband. Things that I don't know myself yet for sure. Being a single man, but we will have, hopefully, if we're lucky, some fathers joining us at points for some discussion. Um, if I'm lucky, maybe some day in the future I will be myself a father, so I'll have some experience, firsthand experience. I have the theoretical knowledge passed on as far as it has been by, again, good patriarchal sources online, some in my own small community that's still, luckily for me, partially traditional, but not fully. Hopefully, we can start trying to get back to that. I joke a lot that our small little rural town here is uh, basically like a generation behind the culture, and so for good or worse, that's the case. I think it is for the better as long as we can turn the tides of things and sort of revert back to our traditional roots earlier than the rest of the culture has decided to start doing that. And maybe we can avoid, we have so far avoided all the crazy stuff here, or we've avoided all the rainbow nonsense here so far. So hopefully that'll continue. But yeah, so we'll be getting into different things that I feel are important to the patriarchy, to rebuilding Christendom, if you will, which of course is forming young men, forming men in general is sort of the cornerstone of all of that. It's going to take that foundation of individuals forming themselves, and then from there going out and forming smaller communities of good men, good families, strong Catholic rooted families, um, and I guess eventually just coming together with those families and building a real community, because how else do you fight against the storm that's been brewing for, again, over 150 years at this point? Uh, Perhaps, depending on what you take as the origin of this, hundreds of years, perhaps is or even perhaps thousands of years, we've been dealing with this enemy, and it's only in, maybe that's why I say the past 150 years, it's only within those past 150 years that men have really given up they've left their post. And so we need to take it back. We need to take back the culture. We need to take back our families, honestly, is what it comes down to. Take back our communities. Stop hiding from the 0.1% of crazy people who believe the craziest things that are thrown at them by the guys up, well, not up at the very top, not God, but the guys at the top of our institutions and governments. Those are the ones. And sure, you could be afraid of them. I suppose they have power, but remember what the one truly up there has said, that the one we really need to fear, the only one we really need to fear, is the one who can destroy both body and soul, and that is only the big man. So we need to keep that in mind. We need to stick to the truth, and we need to make sure that we remember we've all been put here. God's chosen every single one of us by virtue of our being born to participate in this time here and now. And we have to remember that and stop being sloths, stop sitting around thinking that somebody else is going to do it for us, because it's up to us. And I very much think we're going to be judged on how we've responded or haven't responded to the times that we've been placed in. And it seems like we have been placed in some very, very important times, you could say. So yeah, that's about what Viri Christi is. It's just that attempt to bring all that back in my own small way. Yeah, and hopefully, like I said, hopefully this will build up. We'll get more guys all along the way joining us here, and we'll have some different kinds of interviews and discussions uh, amongst other good men and fathers, husbands, and we'll see where this thing goes. Hopefully, we can be a great boon to the good men of society that are out there. They just need to be, I think they just need to be awakened. They need to be stirred up, need to be mustered. They don't need to be mustered, but they need to be mustered. Anyway, and obviously how that connects with Academia Christi is that Academia Christi is forming everybody to be a good Catholic, and part and parcel of that is the patriarchy, is returning to Christendom, returning to Catholicism. It's what it always was until we destroyed it because we don't care enough. So that's how those two obviously go together. And now we'll move on to the second question, which is sort of related, and that's how does the gardening thing fit into all that? Why do I have a Viri Christi garden blog? Well, I'll tell you the answer to that right now after I take another sip of coffee. The answer to that is that the world's falling apart if you haven't noticed. And if it continues to fall apart, most of the things we do these days are going to be completely useless, completely pointless. They're half, probably maybe even more, maybe 70% of jobs we do currently, maybe even 80% of jobs we do currently won't exist anymore because we won't need them. All these tech jobs and stuff, yeah, they will be pointless. They might not be pointless right now. They might, for a good man who can remain virtuous within those environments, they can certainly be good sources of income for your family. Good support for families. Yeah, but I guess my own train of thought has taken me to gardening, and there's plenty of other things aside from that, but that's where it took me, is because I thought to myself, and wondering what I was going to try to do for the rest of my life, I said, in me having a philosophy and theology degree, considering teaching, but then realizing that academia is completely just in shambles, completely corrupt. And it seems to me that to continue into higher education, to pursue a master's or a doctorate degree, is kind of just playing into the hands of those corrupt people that I'm attempting to fight against. So I don't really want their degrees. I don't want them. I don't want to be acknowledged by these people. So I'm not going to continue. Then puts me in a little bit of a bind. Basically, just that's why I have this channel now, attempting to begin some teaching and some courses on here, as I also do some local parish things. Probably going to combine the two, do the things I do at the local parish on the channel, bring some stuff from the channel, to the local parish, my local parish work. But other than that, thinking of other ways that I would be able to support a family, support also a community in general. And so that became gardening. So basically, what if and when the world falls apart, what will be left? That's important. What jobs will be left to do? In fact, there's really a lot of them. Gardening and farming just seem like obvious ones. We should honestly really get back to this. For those who have the room to do it, we should really get back to these family gardens that our grandparents, our parents and grandparents had, our great grandparents, perhaps in some of cases for some of you young folk. But we should really get back to that, being able to grow some of our own food, not everything. Just a small garden patch, growing the more necessary vegetables that you would eat on a more daily basis. Things like things you can pickle and can preserve. We really should get back to that, because honestly, we're I think living in a twilight zone, and in the twilight of this. If it was ever a real thing in America, well, I think we're living in the end times of it. And we don't seem to think that that's the case, or seem to think it's even possible that we could be reduced to anything less than our hyper consumptive first world status. I don't think we believe that we could be anything but that, but I don't think that we're too far from not being that. A couple natural disasters, one war perhaps, Who knows? Who knows what these crazy people that are trying to run everyone's lives? Who knows what they're going to do? So with that in mind, and again, this could be 5 years down the road, could be 2030, perhaps, could be uh, 50 years down the road, could be 100 years down the road, could be 200. Who knows? The point in my mind was that what can I pass on at least? Maybe I don't need these skills myself immediately, but maybe my kids will. Maybe their kids will. So what could I pass on to them? And again, in very traditional Catholic fashion, what can I, as a hopefully future father, pass on to my children? What can I give them? What kind of inheritance can I really give them other than, I don't know, money to go to college and get some stupid degree? That's what it comes down to. No, I think what it really comes down to is knowing how to do something important. Proverbs talks about um, men being able to pass on a trade to their sons, so that I think it even says something like if their scholarly degrees don't work out for them, then they have something to fall back on that's real. This is exactly, I think, the thing. Um, I love philosophy. I love theology. I loved going to school for it, even though I was appalled at what I was learning most of the time, being taught, I should say, attempted what they were attempting to teach. It was appalling most of the time. But even so, I love it. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't all know how to do some kind of skill. And it doesn't have to be gardening and farming. It could be construction, some kind of building work. Um, it could be hunting. I saw somebody, me and I'm in a group called the Patriarchy Project. I suggest people look that up if you're interested in this kind of thing. Look up the Patriarchy Project. Will Nolan's group on an app called School, Skool. Look that up and put in an application. See if you'll be accepted to join the group. Just a group of men seeking this same kind of thing. A lot of discussions, great, fantastic discussions. I would love to kind of bring some of those to this podcast in a slight way, because they have such great questions that I've pondered myself for a long time, and I think it'll be a good basis to get the best questions to start with for this podcast, I think. But anyway, talking about things like this, about a good career, a good path for a vocation, if you will, a vocation for a man to pursue for his family. One of the suggestions was hunting, because this guy was ex-military, so he would be able to get a hunting license, sell that. I don't know how much money you make doing that, but that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. If you're an expert hunter, by the time the world goes to hell, you're going to be a big benefit to your community. Police work. If you could do like small town copping, small town police work, that's the kind of thing. Not the big city metro police or state police, things like that. I don't know about that so much, but something where you're a local police and you're actually helping your community and you're there for them. That's, again, it's different in this day and age. But then if and when, again, we have to make that turn, or forced to make that turn to sort of the Stone Age again, that security is going to be beneficial. Somebody who knows how to enforce the law and knows their way around securing situations, right? Defending. So again, that goes hand in hand with the military as well. Of course, anybody who's been in the military is, or at least anyone who's done anything in the military, will be quite beneficial, obviously, in this. I would say imagined, but I'm more inclined to say this foreseen future, not imagined, unfortunately. It's not like I'm any kind of prophet. I'm just a guy who doesn't have his head in the sand and is trying to read the signs of all the signs of the times that seem to be quite clear and not and not at all hidden. So yeah, that's why gardening. I I wanted to vlog just because I'll be able to follow for myself what I was doing, go back and use that for my own knowledge. But again, also just to show anybody who stumbles upon the channel uh, different tips if they really watch. I'll be posting other garden videos that are more succinct and focus on different things. Well, like for example, I'm thinking about a 5 or 10 things I've learned this first year of gardening. Videos like that. I'll be showing my pepper harvest of all the different varieties. I'll be showing the varieties of tomatoes I've grown, things like that over time as we get into that part of the season. But yeah, so gardening falls into that. There's, again, like I mentioned, a couple other trades or useful career paths that maybe not, yeah, police work, military, they might not, although they can be, they're not exactly something you can pass a trade to pass on to your kid, although again, they can be in a sense. Um, there are others like that. I don't know how much people are interested or how much you're going to be making from these other types of things. But one of the other things I was um, and am probably going to explore once I have more time around the gardening is blacksmithing. You may, if you watch any of the garden vlogs, whenever I walk up to my potted tomatoes, you'll see on the far right, it's actually where I have the uh, early girl tomato off by itself, sitting on a little cinder block. Then there's an overturned metal wagon. Then there's all the other tomatoes. Well, that overturned wagon is my makeshift forge from last year, about early November. I think I put it together right before I started gardening, and I was banging on some pieces of metal. It worked out, and it was actually really fun. So, uh, so I'm going to probably get back into that at some point once I have the time. And again, these things also, one of the reasons I was doing all of this or had the idea to do it at first was because I wanted to start getting back in shape more or get into shape. I haven't been in shape since high school. So wanted to get back in shape and doing like the doorway pull-ups, things like that. Just more simple exercises, things that didn't require me going out and buying weights or anything. But that turned into me wanting to produce stuff with my physical efforts. And so at first that was let's do some blacksmithing. And then interestingly enough, it was this CMask, Catholic Masculinity podcast, another thing I would suggest looking up with Tim Gordon, Will Noland, some other guys, Elliot Hulse, which many may know from a completely different sphere of YouTube, the strongman coach, Elliot Hulse. Actually, from him talking on one of those podcasts about him and his son doing as weight training farmers carries, right? Grabbing some big old bags and carrying them around in circles, and how much of a workout that was. And it got me thinking, man, maybe instead of just carrying the bags around in circles, you could carry the bags to a place, dump the bag out, and then go get another one and carry the next bag to the place. And then you could like shovel and rake that dirt, and then you could like plant some stuff in it and it would grow. And then all of a sudden you were doing this physical effort that was a good workout. And now you also have all these tomatoes planted in the ground that a couple months from now, your wife will be able to take and make some salsa and some sauce and whatever else. So that was actually what kind of turned me from messing around with the blacksmithing onto doing the gardening instead. And also I kind of saw gardening as like the long term, more chronic thing, and then you have this blacksmithing. It's kind of you kind of go. It's more acute, more instantaneous, right? You go, you do your thing, and you're done. Gardening's, you do a bit here, you wait, you do some more, you wait, you do some more, you wait. And so I thought gardening would be a good thing to settle into first, and then once I'm settled into the gardening, I can start adding some other different things to the whole Viri Christi plan. But yeah, that's where that is. And by the way, if you're wondering what this is sitting back here, it is a pepper. It is a ghost pepper. I had this guy, well, as you can see, since the 13th of June, sitting in here over that direction by the window. There's also a grow light. This is an attempt to get better at doing seed propagation indoors. And I would say, if you saw what I've done in the beginning of the year with seed propagation indoors, you would probably realize how much better this is than the other things I've done. It's looking amazing. It's actually probably one of the best peppers I have at this point. Big old ghost. So yeah, that's what that is. Probably go into a bigger and final pot soon. But yeah, so that is why gardening. Of course, gardening being, I feel like it's one of the better ones, just because you're providing food for your family as well. You don't have to worry, again, especially with the way our economy is going. You don't have to worry about getting food from other people, getting food from the grocery store, all this junk. Anyway, get good food from your own garden. Don't have to worry about running out unless you screw up, which is always a possibility. Just plant more, right? And especially if you're in a warm climate where you can plant all year around, you better be doing this, because you could literally have food for your family all year around. If you're in a northern climate like me, you're limited. You have seasons, then you have to worry. Then maybe you'll do some canning and some pickling, things like that, to preserve throughout the winter. Easy enough, I guess. But if you're in a warm climate and you have a whole year's worth of planting to do, you should be doing that, or you're really missing out. At least, again, like I said, at least doing a family garden. Again, I think it's a good way to also benefit the community if you're able to sell even more. If you have more than you need, you're able to sell your produce to other people. Definitely going to help them out. Food is a very important thing to have. So for everybody, believe it or not. So then there are other things, of course. I don't know. I definitely farming. Definitely farming like cattle. That would be a huge thing for sure. If people would want to get into something like that. Living where I do, we're really blessed. Other than it being Pennsylvania, we're blessed because we have everything we need in my small town or around my small town. If things did go bad, but of course, being in the American Northeast is probably not the best place to be if things go bad. So we're considering what might come to be in the future. But anyway, that is for future times. Let's move on to the third and final question, since we're getting to a half hour here. Final question is gardening the only thing? I guess I kind of already answered that. Gardening is not going to be the only thing that's part of Viri Christi. Going to be the blacksmithing at some point. I'm going to get into that. Going to be doing a lot of construction, building projects on here. It's something I have some background in, that and landscaping, things like that. That's what also kind of drew me toward gardening, is something I kind of had some not exact experience in, but I had the landscaping is kind of close to it, so I'm able to. I feel like I'm able to get the garden patches ready, get things down in a organized, orderly way. It's really just the planting and the growing of them in itself that I'm learning. But that's easy enough, I think, especially again with YouTube and things. That's why we're blessed right now. Again, we should be using technology to learn as much as we can while we have that ability, because who knows how long again that this technology is going to be around for us to utilize in this way. Learn the things that you can learn from it now, like agriculture. But yeah, so there will be multiple other things on here. I'd like to do, again, interviews, more generic stuff. There's this podcast now, Vodcast, that will be just talking about all this different patriarchal stuff as we go, different topics all the time. And maybe even not always topics. Maybe sometimes it'll just be something a little more simple. Sometimes maybe it'll be an ask me anything kind of deal. Once I have some people actually tuning in, hopefully do this live. That'll be cool. But for now, just going to do it this way. But yeah, definitely there was going to be tons of other content for Viri Christi, not only Academia Christi, all the philosophical, theological, religious content that'll be coming for that, and like book clubs, hopefully things like that, of that nature. But also for Viri Christi, going to have a lot of other different things that'll hopefully entice or educate men to do these kind of things. And I don't know. We'll see what happens. We'll see where we go from here. This is something that's been on my mind for a while, and it's because I think it's extremely important for men, for husbands, for fathers, and it's not something that's, at least in my area, seems easily accessible, or at least if it were, I would rather it be accessible in a much different way. I heard a lot of these guys talking about, and rightfully so, talking about the need for men to know how to fight, like to know how to be prepared for that, to be capable if the time ever comes that they have to actually defend their family. So how do you do that? Join a UFC gym. You could do that. Yeah, why not? What I think would be great, because again, I'm not positive about the morality, because that would be more case by case basis. The morality of going to a UFC gym, and we're talking straight up UFC, probably immoral, because the goal is to injure your opponent badly most of the time. Same with knockout boxing, professional boxing. Immoral because of the danger that's the primary, the telos of the sport. And so I'm thinking, if you had something like a Catholic fight club, where you knew the guys were good, virtuous men that were coming, the only reason they're coming is so they can train each other. Iron sharpens iron, in this case, even more literally. But a place where guys can come hone their skills, but not worry about the morality of it, because you know you're with good, virtuous guys, and none of you are trying to kill each other, even in the practice gym. You're just going, having a good time, maybe getting a couple scrapes and bruises, but nothing crazy, but at least something where men are being trained to be able to handle themselves, really, because I don't know, I'd be willing to bet, again, going back to percentages, 60-70% of men these days have no chance. If something would happen, they have no chance of defending anybody, let alone themselves. So that's another big thing. I think maybe somehow we can incorporate that into Viri Christi as well. I don't know. I would really like to. This is obviously something that would have to be very local. Something that I hope would catch on in other places, but it would have to be something local. And I'm thinking myself of multiple good candidates, even in my parish, maybe that could help run this thing, that have that skill set to train other people and to sort of help that come to life. So anyway, yeah, that's I guess just a few of my thoughts. I just wanted to start this podcast up sooner rather than later. I've been waiting for a while. Actually done a couple takes of this first one, different settings, scenarios, just to see what I would like. I think I like this. It's easier just to hang out here in the mornings with one of my first cups of coffee. Kind of losing some of the morning that I could be out there doing. So I got a lot of stuff to do still in the garden. But yeah, that's all right. I wanted to wanted to start getting a little more content, a little different content out on the channel. I think this is a good place to start, just to kind of shoot the breeze, talk about a lot of nonsense that I've wanted to talk about, but doesn't really fall into the garden blog thing. Academia Christi, again, that content will be coming out. It's pretty straightforward. What'll be, I have the shots of faith, just quick, maybe 10-minute videos that explain some aspect of the faith, whatever the question is. Kind of give a question answer format there. I'm gonna have, hopefully soon. I was considering maybe not doing it until I checked around and found that there's no good Douay Rheims audio Bibles that I could find. So I'm actually going to continue doing my own Douay Rheims audio Bible. Things like this would go a lot faster if I didn't have to deal with this extremely loud traffic that always goes past. So I don't want any of that to show up in the recording, or at least it's very little as possible. So working on that. Maybe Genesis will be out soon. I'm probably going to release it by book just because, why not? And after that, for Academia Christi, hoping that I can get a history of the Saints series going. Have the first couple parts. I have the whole list that I'm going to go through already done, plus some. I have the first couple parts done for the first couple. Hopefully sometime soon. Again, once I get the garden more in order, I'll be able to focus on other things. But yeah, that's the plan. Got a lot of stuff on the burners, so hopefully some of them will be done and cooked soon enough. But that's it for now. Hope you enjoyed. Hope to see you again. I'm gonna hope to do the podcast, honestly, maybe 2 or 3 times a week. Try to get quite a bit of these in. It's not like it's that difficult. I'll do a little bit of editing and then I'll post it up. And yeah. So yeah, hope you'll join me next time. Hope you enjoyed. Please like, comment, definitely subscribe. If I keep getting subscribers, I'm looking forward to posting some videos of me eating some super hot peppers like this based on my subscribers. So be sure to do that. Follow if you're on Rumble, whatever. But yeah, that's it. This is Academia Christi. I'm Randy. Peace.